some of the business successes I've had is that my vision hasn't really changed. And I think that's, I don't pivot. I don't pivot because it's the next new, biggest, grandest thing. I've been pretty true to my 3 divisions. At one point, I thought about venturing off to something else. And I really wanted to do it, but it didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So it's learning to listen to your business and what the capacity of it is.
Welcome back to the Catalyst podcast. Today we have my friend Monica Beasley from the Signature Suite. We're going to talk about all things business promotion, branding, and really just have a fun conversation with my friend. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Sonia. Happy to be here.
Yes, I'm super excited. This has been a little bit of time in the making, so I'm excited to chat with you and just share with my audience a little bit about your business. So tell us a little bit about what is the Signature Suite and what does your business do?
So the Signature Suite offers a suite of services that include event management, gifting, and branding, i.e. promotional products.
Super fun. And how long have you had your business?
20 plus years full time.
Nice.
There's probably about 10 or 12 years before that, give or take, that it was actually part-time. And I had an opportunity to move to Las Vegas to open the Paris Hotel as a meeting planner, and that's when it became full-time.
That's awesome. That's a huge testament to a woman-owned business, to a small business, to be in business for 20 years. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
What do you love most about your business?
The creativity.
And so how do you apply that in your business?
So I don't look at selling an ink pen as selling an ink pen. It's more, what do you and or my clients, what do they need?
Yeah.
Because everybody can give an ink pen. I give a lot of them because of the name of my business, Signature. The thing that I think that people forget to do is that you're servicing your client who's thereby servicing their client.
Yeah.
And it needs to feel like something that they represent that the client will still appreciate. And that's in gifting and in branding.
Yeah, and I think gifting is like a unique art, right? It's not just a promotional thing, right? Like you want to take it to the next level.
Well, there are 2 different sides of that coin. The first coin is a gift. That's how you say thank you or you appreciate someone. The flip side of that, the marketing product, it's exactly that. It's not a gift. It's you hoping that they will remember you because your brand or your logo or your telephone number, website, et cetera, is on the ink pen.
And how do you help a company, I guess, create strategy around that or devise a plan for their business around those 2 different distinctions?
So all clients don't always need all things. So I start with that. And the majority of my business is with people who don't understand the difference. And sometimes they need both, but don't have the budget for both. So at the beginning of the year, I try and sit down with my clients that are coaches and realtors and things of that nature and actually have a conversation with them about what does this upcoming year look like. If, in fact, I know that you're going to be going to a Mommy and Me conference, that looks different than going to a tech conference. You may still be teaching something, the exact same thing, but the promo product is received differently.
Sure.
And with regards to the gifting, we started off in the real estate market that blossomed into multiple other organizations and businesses. With that, we asked the question, what do you want your clients to receive when they get it?
Yeah.
So it's not a cookie cutter product.
Right.
You can't go to a website because we believe in things being original. I'm looking at a black and white couch that I absolutely love, and my brand colors happen to be black and white. So anybody who knows me knows that I'm going to show up most times in black and white. Today's not that day. However, it's about you explaining to me what your client feels like. If it's a realtor and you know that they had to have this house because they wanted a swimming pool, that's different than a spa. I have to have a grandiose bathroom so I can be in the bathroom all the time and listen to music and smoke candles. And so those 2 things are completely different. So I end up educating my clients on what does it look like that their client actually needs.
Right.
And that then if it's something purple, then maybe the spa basket is purple because she loves spa. And maybe the guy loves to grill, so it's giving him a chef hat and an apron with his name on it. I think that you have to identify what the client needs because they don't always know.
Yeah. And I feel like gifting has changed over the years, right? Is it evolved in different ways or is it still gifting is gifting?
Yes and no. The end thing now that we do some for our clients is these subscription box concepts. People in my industry have been doing this our entire life. I mean, for the entire length of my business, we've been doing something similar to that for clients. I think that now people know what they can get at Sam's Club at holiday time or at Costco or at Walmart. And if you go to Walmart or one of those kind of places or Sam's Club, nothing wrong with that product, but it reflects how much you feel to your client. So if you go spend $1,000 on 10 gift baskets at Walmart or at Costco, which they do have, it reflects, oh, well, they only thought of me to do it from here. You know, and I think that people are more conscientious of what they receive now. You do have to look at, you know, are there health reasons? We live in Nevada, so we have to be very cognizant of if the gift giver is giving to a person who's Mormon. Because you have to ask those questions. And most people, if you buy something from one of the other stores, there's probably going to be some chocolate or coffee in it. And you can't use those things.
Yeah, because of the alcohol.
Because of the alcohol or the caffeine. So
Right.
you have to be knowledgeable of that. And I think that people oftentimes just say, also can't give what you love.
Right.
Because people give what they love. And if that was me, it would be everything Starbucks, white wine, and black and white. But all people don't like those things.
Yeah.
And you have to educate the client. And that's what I've discovered that I'm really good at. I can dig out what's best for them and still reflect who they are.
Yeah, it's more intimate, personal, kind of concierge experience
Yes.
than maybe some
Yes.
of the other companies. And yeah, I know it's funny because my husband has a small mortgage company, and every year around the holidays, like the same few things come home. And I know it's from the same few clients, like the Harry and David, you know, fruit basket, which is great, but it's the same, you know, the ham, the Harry and David. And I think there's like one chocolate box, and I think it's from the same 3 clients or 3 vendors or someone that comes home.
And again, there's nothing wrong with that because I believe one of my taglines is I believe in the power of thank you.
Yeah.
So the fact that you're getting thanked is, you know, you already went past step 1 and went to step 2 because you actually did something about it. But what if you don't eat pork?
Right. Yeah,
You know?
which I don't, but the rest of the family does. But I do look forward to those pairs every year.
But what if you're traveling?
Yeah.
What if you're traveling?
Yeah.
And so you have to, you know, really be in tune with, number one, who the client is, but then more importantly, at holiday time, who the recipient is.
Yeah. That's very true. Very true.
So,
And I'm sure with the way in 20 years, you've seen the economy go up and down. How do you help clients gift on a budget or stretch their budget or be more strategic in that regard?
so I use myself as an example. I have an ink pen that is 29 cents. That's maybe it's 39, 49 now. I don't really know what it is. So I have a pen that's that level. And then I have an ink pen that is $8. I think another one is like 22.
Wow.
And so depending upon what level of the client it is, I'm also not a very good gift giver because I'm too busy working. But we've done this. The most expensive thing I've ever given a client was a Mont Blanc pen. And, you know, that was quite pricey. But based on what I received from them, it was well within the means. I think that a good gifting person as well as a good promotional marketing person will look at their budget. That's why, you know, people will say, I want a gift basket. Well, that doesn't mean anything to me.
Yeah.
I mean, what's your budget look like and how many are you doing? That's the starting point for us.
Yeah.
Is where do you want to go with it? What does it want to look? What do you want it to look like? And then let's talk budget. Because you may, you know, the beer and champagne thing is really real. It's a real thing. And maybe we don't do champagne, but we can do sparkling cider.
Sure. Sure.
You know, maybe we can't do like a $20 bottle of beer, but maybe a craft beer that's $6.
Sure. Sure.
Something along those lines. And then we also tie into our client's brand. If in fact we're doing it on behalf of a brand, then we'll do it. So if we're talking about your company, one of the things we do is it would be black and red because that represents you. And it doesn't have to be branded with your name, but it's then branded with your image and what people see of you.
Colors and
Exactly.
all that stuff. Yeah.
And so that's a lot less expensive than me ordering a custom box at $12 for a cheap box. A custom box for you, which I can order. I can order one box that's $32. That's just the box.
Oh my goodness. It starts to add up. Yeah.
It adds up. But and I tell my clients, I'm like, well, you know, I can make it look like you without it costing you as much money, and let's fill it with more things. The other thing that we do is that we try and match the recipient. It still feels like you. So what you do is HR. So people that you would give to, as an example, it could be anything that could go on their desk. It's not necessarily anything they take home to their kids and share with their families or even be delivered to their families. But you want to do something that is going to go on their desk or shareable, as we would call in the gifting industry, where if it's going to an office, then everybody can share it.
Sure.
And it's all individually wrapped because you do not want to give. Going to your home, Harry and David is fine, but going to the office, you don't really want that because, we've gone through some challenging times 5 years ago.
Right.
And you don't know where people have touched or what they have done with their hands.
Cross-pollinating germs.
And
again.
it happens.
Yeah, sure.
It really does happen. And being in the industry as long as I have, I'm now responsible for that. If someone gets sick, you're going to call me, and what can I do? But,
Yeah. So being in business 20 years, let's talk about what are some of the toughest lessons you've learned being a business owner?
For Monica, one of the toughest lessons learned is to ask for help.
That's a big one.
That's probably my biggest one because visually I have in my mind what I want the design to look like.
Yeah.
And it took years. So I may have one gift basket or 1,000 gift baskets, and we've done everything in between. Knowing that I can't tie 1,000 bows. We hand tie most of our bows. So knowing that I can't hand tie 1,000 bows. So let me pass on this and find people that can do these things with me.
Sure.
And or for me. But it takes a certain kind of person that wants to tie bows, 1,000 bows. It's a certain kind of person.
Right.
The other thing, other than asking for help that I've learned recently, is that you have to have a plan when you're not available because business doesn't stop if I stop. And that's been, as you know, a very serious problem for the business because the client still needs an ink pen. I'm going to stop using ink pen. Let's use backpack or journal.
Yeah, they still need your support, right?
Or a lovely cup.
Right.
So they are still going to need those things regardless of whether I'm able to fulfill that need or not.
Right.
And so it's important as I'm learning to move in the place of having somebody that can, back me up. And that's not the asking for help. That's someone who's there, right arm, left arm, to actually assist with the running of the business when I'm not able to.
Yeah. And what have been some of the biggest successes you've had, you think, in running a business?
Oddly enough, some of the biggest successes I've had is that my vision hasn't really changed. And I think that's, I don't pivot. I don't pivot because it's the next new, biggest, grandest thing. I've been pretty true to my 3 divisions. At one point, I thought about venturing off to something else. And I really wanted to do it, but it didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So it's learning to listen to your business and what the capacity of it is.
Yeah. And how have you stayed true to that? How have you stayed grounded in that?
My mother would be the one who would say, yeah, we don't need that. And because I really wanted to add a travel division. Believe it or not, I do event planning. I live in Las Vegas. Why not have travel? Ooh, the amount of work, it's just not worth it.
Right.
And over the years, I've thought about other things to add, but it's like, is it in alignment to what we're already doing? Right. If it's not in alignment, as in the event planning business begot the gifting business, begot the promotional products business. So if I can't string them together, then they can't be.
Yeah. And so knowing that you can't do it all, how have you put things in place to, because that was a pretty tough lesson to learn last year. You want to talk about how you learned that lesson? And
full disclosure, my mother was my operations manager. She was the one who made sure that all my T's and I's were dotted when I'm in land designing.
Visionary.
Right, and that's who I am. Yeah. And you need somebody who is opposite of you.
Yeah.
Or different than you.
Yeah.
Compliments
you.
The compliments me. Yeah. And she was the one who could make sure that the business license was taken care of, that I've invoiced on time, she wouldn't have to do the networking stuff with me unless she wanted to.
Yeah.
But she was the complement to me being out in the world.
Yeah.
And when my mother passed away, not only did I lose my mother during that time, but I lost the person who did those things for me.
Yeah.
And we're still in a place of trying to, I won't be, but I'm.
No, well, it's an emotional thing, right?
So I'm still trying to navigate through that.
Yeah.
But I discovered that having people like you and some others that are just called just to check in and say how you're doing.
Yeah.
And to call me on my stuff that I'm not doing.
Right.
Which is important too. So I'm blessed to have a circle of people. They're not just clients. Some of them are clients as well that will push me and pull me
Yeah.
gently with love, but push and pull.
Yeah.
And that's been support. That's been the biggest support for me.
Right.
The other thing is that I feel like everything is anew. And I was driving today, and because business, I'm so blessed that I was able to spend so much time with my mom and
Yeah.
do the things that were important for me to honor her.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're not, I won't say we're rebuilding, but I had this little thing today, and it's like, I'm going to BBB. And that means I'll be back better.
I love that.
And so that's kind of, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. That feels good.
Yeah.
That finally feels, okay. Am I going to have all the same exact clients? I will not. But that's okay, because there are others out there ready for me.
Yeah, and new businesses are starting, and new initiatives are starting with businesses maybe you haven't talked to in a while. And I think the statistics from the SBA is something like hundreds of businesses a month are starting, right?
Exactly.
New business licenses, registrations are going out on the daily.
Daily. And it's, it's putting the old things together that worked. And there was a time when years ago in Nevada, there was a business, some kind of newspaper that was out once a week.
Yeah.
And it literally listed all of the business licenses that went out
Oh, wow. Yeah.
for the week under categories. This is restaurants, this is law offices. And I built my local business there, just reaching out, saying hi, sending a note. I'm a huge believer in note cards.
Yeah.
Handwritten note cards.
I started
not emails.
No, it's so funny because I started recently writing hand note cards because of you again, because I was like, that's just a lost art form. We started it with the kids in pandemic because I'd seen some things on social media where people were writing note cards to seniors in senior living, and this group of friends that would do it and just write cards. I think I saw something like on the news, like, oh, these people are lonely, people can't come visit them, and we would start writing to them. And I really got in the habit of doing it. And I thought that was so cute, right? And then, my mother-in-law is like really great. She sends the kids handwritten birthday cards all the time. And when things happen, she sends me a note. And I just think it's such a neat thing. And I was like, I should send people a handwritten note for being on the podcast or supporting me or whatever. And I was like, she always talks about a handwritten note. And so I bought a big box off of Amazon. It's like this big. And I just carry them in my backpack. Whenever someone crosses my mind now, and I went and bought a big roll of stamps, and I just
100 roll.
Yeah.
100. And people forget about that.
Yeah.
Again, it's believing in the power of thank you.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter where the thank you come from.
Right.
Of course, we want you to gift and to buy a branded product to say thank you.
Right.
But a handwritten note is still very powerful.
Yeah.
And again, no email thank yous.
Yeah. Well, we have branded little note cards for Torian, and we still send people birthday cards. And they may have worked for us years ago. They may have converted to full time. They may not be working for us. But this report spits out every month for April and then for May, and we just handwrite a little note, and people go, I still get your birthday card.
And it's easy enough to do if you're collecting information on your client. Just add the line to your client intake form.
Yeah.
It's not complicated. Ask the birthdays.
Anniversary.
Ask the anniversaries. Ask, I still send cards to people who, when they start at new positions, whether it's in a different company or otherwise, but you have to stay top of mind.
Yeah.
And those things help you stay top of mind.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, thank you for sharing that, because I know that can be sometimes hard. Yeah. My last podcast guest had me thinking of my grandfather. Made me cry a little bit. So it's okay to show emotion. And I think what you built with your mom is very special. And of course, we all want to have legacy in our business. So I don't think your mom would want your business to shut down. We've talked about that quite a bit. She would want it to carry on. So what do you still have to do in your business? What's coming up for you?
Well, before I answer that question, I'm going to give all honor to my mom because my mother actually named the company.
Yeah.
And so for that reason, when I had the dream, and I'm thinking about, well, maybe I'll just go back to work. And she woke me up and she's like, no, I worked too hard on that business. And the reason that it's named what it is that when I started off all those years ago doing event management, I was trying to figure out the name of the company.
Yeah.
And, I'm having a conversation. My mom and I would talk multiple times a day, and we'd have lunch at least once a week, but usually more, usually two times a week. And all those years ago, she says, well, I'm like, well, I just wanted to feel different. I want them to feel special. And you come up with all these like heartfelt, foo-foo
Yeah.
names.
Yeah.
And my mother knows me. I'm not foo-foo. And you know me.
Yeah.
I'm really not foo-foo. I'm kind of, I'm black and white. And so she says, well, keep giving me words that, feel like what you wanted to say. And I said, well, this and that, I want them to feel like they couldn't get the service anyplace else. And I'm doing this just for them.
Mm.
And she says, oh, like a signature. And so that's where the name signature, it's had different iterations throughout the years, but the word signature has always been a part of it.
That's awesome.
And so thanks, Mom. Thanks, Mom.
I love that because I think you're in promotions, you're in marketing, and people, don't often think how important it is, the name of your business, and it does leave a mark. And my two companies, Catalyst and Torian, the names were very much an important part of why my businesses have it. And I remember when Ben, my husband, was starting his business, he's a much more overthinker of things than I am. When I thought of my businesses, it was like, oh, I want it to be a zodiac sign. I want it to be disruptive and IT. And I want it to have a piece of me, Torian, like a bowl in a china shop. It was like, it took me like 2 hours. It wasn't like that big of a deal, right? And for Catalyst too, I want to be a catalyst for businesses, a catalyst for change. Like it was very easy. I named them like in a day. And I remember when Ben was starting his mortgage company, I would find him literally up in the middle of the night with like legal pads and like words. And he was Googling, then he'd go to the business, website and look up, was there already this name? Was the website already taken? He had a whole system. And it took him probably, I would say, a week. You might say I'm exaggerating, but days, and like a whole legal pad of different ideas for, a loan origination company. And it was all over the place in different names, all over the place. And he ended up with Sandstone Home Loans. And I was like, well, that's just kind of interesting. Like why that name? Where did that come from? Does it have to do because we live in the desert? And he's like, no, it's Sonia, Arden, Noah, and Desmond Sand.
Oh my God.
And I was like, oh, that's so neat. I never would have thought if that's what it meant. But after all the iterations, Monica, of names and plays on words and Greek mythology, whatever, I was like, oh, okay. And that's how.
I love that.
But I remember thinking like a couple nights that like I'd go down and get a drink of water and he'd be like down there in the dark with the light and just like looking.
Okay, but that story gives a different meaning to what it is. I mean,
it's all in our initials.
If there's a story, to tell the story as to why.
Yeah.
With
it's
your
not
branding. ABC.
Exactly.
1, 2, 3, A1, So I love that. And next time I see him, I'm going to say that I will never think anything differently now.
Yeah, it's very cute.
It's very
and
cute.
everyone gets to it in their names, and then you help them like tell that story through product, which is pretty cool. So I love that. So I don't remember my question, but I'm sure it had to do with something about like what's next for you or.
That was it. So you also know that I've been in this space of moving my office.
Yes.
Which
and
is
warehouse
still,
and.
Right. We're lucky that during the pandemic, our business exploded. It was wonderful. And we found a niche for something else that we're doing. And we do subscription boxes for some of our clients that we send out quarterly or monthly and things like that. And we found the opportunity to do a very large project, like, 4,000 pieces that needed to be stuffed. Didn't have room for that. And over the last 2 or 3 years, my mom and I have been talking about, well, it's time to move. So my old office was on the second floor, which you've been there.
Yeah.
And the knees are getting older. I had been there for, I think, about 10 years.
Yeah.
And when you're trying to carry one basket downstairs, it's one thing. But if you're trying to do 50, the knees were tired. And so we had started to brainstorm, what is the new space going to look like? And I like people. And so part of the experience from my office has to be a community space.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
And, my last office that I was there for about 6 years. So when I move, I plant. I was in a strip mall and it just didn't feel good because you're in there by yourself and, you don't see your neighbors, you don't talk to people. So I need to have community. And so I was afforded the opportunity to move into an office space inside of another office. And so it's good, I guess, because I haven't organized it yet, because I'm overwhelmed. It took me, don't do this. don't overbuy if
Yeah.
you don't need.
Yeah.
My philosophy in gifting is that I shouldn't have to buy anything. That has proven to be true. Don't buy anything. Okay. And so the moving took 6 weekends.
Wow.
Yeah,
It's a lot.
it's a lot.
And you didn't ask for help.
So the moving took 6 weekends. And so now that exhausted me so much, I just don't want to look at it.
Yeah.
But I need to get it back on track because there's some things that we're looking forward to doing. We're launching a couple of new smaller programs, one that is realtor specific that I'm excited about. And I've been doing a little test marketing to it. And again, it's in alignment, so it works. And another is another website that will offer one product that I'm very excited about.
Good.
So that's what's the immediate future. The close future will be to bring somebody on board who can do some of the things that I'm just not good at.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to learn that I'm not replacing my mom because I can't do that.
No.
It took me some time to say, well, I just need someone who can do some of the things that she did.
Yeah.
And that's what's next.
That's awesome.
So
Yeah. And so what advice do you have for business owners out there? I know you were in our mastermind for a little bit. What's your thoughts on being in a community like that, seeking coaching, accountability, mastermind group?
So I'm a strong proponent of surrounding yourself. It's always being said, surround yourself with the people who, all the other things. So I believe in coaching and masterminding.
Yeah.
It holds you accountable, but I also think it needs to be the right group. I've had multiple coaches, multiple masterminds, and you have to do the one that feels like a blanket that you're putting on. You're not putting the blanket on because you're going out into the cold and you're frigid, but you're putting the blanket on because you want to feel warm and comfortable. And there's a difference. I can put the same coat on and do anything with it. So it's really about aligning what feels good. And you have to also learn that you can be in a mastermind and you can do the exact same thing as somebody else, but your client is not their client. So don't go into that space thinking, well, they can't help me and they can't serve me. It's better, in my opinion, to be in a mastermind of people that have all different backgrounds, all different types of businesses, because they may be facing something or may have something available that you can do for them, but you may have an experience that they need to hear as well.
Yeah.
And so I think that's really good. But the other thing is that when you go into a mastermind or into a coaching program, you have to be ready to do the work.
Yeah.
And sometimes as entrepreneurs, especially micro or solo entrepreneurs, we're so busy wearing every hat that we don't get the work done that the coach has led us to do.
Yeah.
And then we blame the coach because we haven't done the work and we haven't seen the revenue growth that we should have.
Yeah. It's very true. It's very true. So what advice do you have out there for the business owners this year?
You have to ask for help.
Yeah.
You don't grow without help. And in a nutshell, that means you don't grow as a person without help. You don't grow as a business without asking for help. And to stay in the lane that you are driven in. I love floral decoration. I think they're beautiful. I love flowers. And I thought about that as 1.2. Let's add florals. But that's not where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
So find yourself, stay in your lane, but find someone who complements your lane. So I have a florist on hand. So if I need to do flowers, then I call her and order the flowers and put it in the basket.
Nice.
If I have to do an overseas order, oftentimes I'll use one of my colleagues because he gets much better rates coming overseas.
Nice.
And it's like, okay, Monica, when I'm in town, just buy me dinner. Okay. But it's finding compliments.
Yeah. Collaboration in small business is such a powerful place to be in versus worrying about competition or losing out on the business. When you can collaborate with other small businesses, everybody wins.
Everybody wins. But that's a learning lesson.
Yeah.
That's not something that you wake up because the day that, get your business license and sign on the dotted line, and hang your shingle, you think that everybody who does what you do is your competition.
Right. That's not always true.
And it's not. I sell to no one on the strip unless it's the meeting department.
Yeah.
Because that's, I know where my lane is.
Yeah.
And I don't want to sell anything in a tchotchke, in a gift shop, in a hotel.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
And I learned that lesson from another mastermind member of another group that I was in that was purely promotional products.
Yeah.
They're in Michigan. He's like, I don't sell to auto dealerships. I'm like, what? How is that possible? And he sat me down. So you also have to find, I think, somebody in the group that you can really become business. I don't say business bestie because
Yeah.
I have 4 best friends in real life. They all service a different need that I
Yeah.
have. So you find somebody that you can actually really like pour your heart out with, which I've done that with you.
Yes.
And I've cried with you.
Yes.
But you have to find somebody who you trust and believe.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think is important, in addition to finding a good group of people, you have to find your own board of directors.
Yeah.
And if you have your own board of directors, and yes, professionally, those are all great and good, and they keep you out of trouble. But your board of directors really are who's in your heart, who are going to tell you hard things that are hard, mind things that are hard, but you trust and love them enough to listen to them.
Yeah, for sure.
And,
Yeah.
Sometimes I have to get out of my own way.
Yes,
Another
we all
thing,
do.
you need to get out of your own way.
Yes, we all do.
But if my accountant or my bookkeeper told me, oh, Monica, you should be doing this, I don't know if I'd listen as hard.
Mm-hmm.
Just do your job.
Yeah.
But those people that know, like, and love me or have been longtime clients and like, Monica, it shouldn't take that long for you to send me an invoice. I want to pay you.
Right.
Like, oh, I didn't send that invoice. Oh, I'll get around to it. And another client at one point told me that she doesn't need me to be her bank. That has lived with me for 10 or 12 years at this point. I don't need you to be my bank.
Wow. That's a big one.
That was a big one. So am I still banks sometimes? Yes.
Yes.
But with intention, I'm like, no, we need to
Clean this
close
up.
this out.
So how can people find you?
You can find me at thesignaturesuite.com.
Yes.
That is the website that has all things branding on it. There are no gifts on there because remember, signature. We want to make them original.
Yes.
The other way that you can find me is through our telephone number. We're not really a lot on Instagram and all that stuff. Most of our business come from beautiful referrals.
Yeah.
We have a website, signaturesuite.com, as mentioned. 702-530-4141 is our telephone number.
Awesome.
And those are the best ways.
Yeah.
Or call Sonia.
Yeah. And
Call
all of your
Sonia.
stuff will be in the show notes. So we'll make sure we promote you everywhere.
We love what I do. I would not trade it for the world.
That's awesome.
I wouldn't. I love the joy that I bring to people. And sometimes don't forget to say, I'm sorry. Sometimes businesses mess up.
Yes.
And so sometimes you need to say, I'm sorry too. And we can be there for that as well.
I love that. That's very good. If you like what you saw today on the Catalyst podcast, make sure you subscribe to our show, like it, and share it with someone who you think might also find value.